Attention, interloper. Heed this recorded message. This drone vessel speaks with the voice and authority of Ur-Quan. You are trespassing within Ur-Quan space. This world, Earth, may not be approached for any reason, nor will hostilities against our orbital platform be tolerated. In addition, your ship does not respond to standard hierarchy identification transmissions, and is therefore deemed to be independent. This is not permissible. Only subservience shall be tolerated. This drone now leaves to inform the Ur-Quan of your transgressions. You are commanded to remain here and await the arrival of the Ur-Quan. Disobedience will be punished.
Attention unidentified space vessel. I am Starbase Commander Hayes of the slave planet Earth. Our hyperwave broadcast is extremely weak. Situation critical. Energy cores exhausted. Scanners and deep radar are non-functional. We cannot identify your vessel. Are you the scheduled hierarchy resupply ship? Repeat. Are you the resupply vessel? Look, I don't know who you are or why you're here, but right now the only thing I'm worried about is saving the lives of 1,900 men and women aboard this starbase, and right now you're our only hope. I can't keep the transmitter on too much longer. We need the power for heat and air, so if you don't have any radioactives on board your vessel, please get some and bring them back here before it's too late. The fastest way to get radioactives in this system would be to land on Mercury and scour the surface for deposits of radioactive elements. But be careful. Mercury's a pretty inhospitable place. Watch out for earthquakes and those high temperature areas. Thanks. I'll make sure to mention this the next time I talk with our masters. I'm sure they will reward you. Did you find any radioactive elements for our power cores? I couldn't quite make it out, Captain. Could you please repeat? I couldn't quite make it out, Captain. Could you please repeat? I'm sorry, Captain, your message was garbled. Our receivers have very little power. We're initiating transfer of radioactives, Captain. Now, as soon as our engineers can refit the energy cores, that's much better. Power ratings are climbing. Life support is coming back into the green. Deep radar systems and sensors are now online, and I can scan your vessel. What the hell kind of ship is that? Just who are you, Captain? Okay, what do you want to know? Ur-Quan slave law requires that we maintain an orbital space platform to assist hierarchy vessels which are in need of repairs or fuel. Since the shield around the Earth cuts us off completely from the planet, we're dependent on the Ur-Quan resupply ships for our non-renewable resources. The resupply vessels are supposed to arrive every 5 years, at which time the Ur-Quan somehow penetrate the shield and exchange those of us up here with replacement personnel from the surface. When the Alliance lost the war, the Ur-Quan gave Earth a single choice: join the hierarchy as battle thralls and fight for the Ur-Quan to enslave other sentient species, or become fallow slaves and be forever imprisoned on a single world encased in an impenetrable energy shield here on Earth. We choose not to fight for the Ur-Quan. Soon after the Earth accepted the Ur-Quan's oath of fealty, they departed, leaving behind a battle group of Spathi and Ilrath ships based on the moon. That was the Ur-Quan security drone that keeps an eye on us. Captain, what happened to the spy drone? Oh no, right now it's probably cruising through hyperspace heading right towards the closest hierarchy outpost. When the Ur-Quan find out that you're here, they're going to send a combat fleet instantly. Star Control science mission, huh? Captain, I served as a Star Control officer during the war aboard several cruisers in the Corward Front. And if there'd been any scientific mission to Vela, I would have heard about it. Come to think of it, there were some rumors that Corridor 9, the Special Operations Division of Star Control, was directing some hush-hush operation near Androsynth Space. The Vela star system, yes, that would be the right direction. So, Captain, if you say it's true, how do you explain that huge alien starship you're flying? And why are you here? What do you want from us? Fight the Ur-Quan. Win back our freedom. I remember having such thoughts myself once, long time ago. That was in the first years after the defeat, when it was still terrifying to look up and see the bloody glow of the pulsating slave shield overhead. Though day and night we gazed up at the impenetrable wall as though the sheer power of our hatred would pull it down. But over the years I spent so much of my time struggling, down on the surface, under the shield, and then later up here trying to keep the station alive, that I'd forgotten what it means to be free, to hate our Ur-Quan masters. And now here you are, in an alien ship of unknown power, offering me your assistance to fight against the hierarchy again after all these years. Captain, your offer is intriguing. It's tempting to think that with your advanced Precursor technology we can somehow crack the Earth's slave shield and reassemble the Alliance to attack the hierarchy. And this time, win the damn war. Consider the consequences if you should fail. The Ur-Quan won't just punish us here on the station, they'll exact a gruesome retribution on the surface below as well. Before I commit this station to helping you attack the Ur-Quan and accepting the risk of annihilation if we are defeated, I have to make sure that you and your ship have what it takes to oppose the hierarchy. I'll make you a deal. If you can eliminate the alien base on the moon and get rid of that threat at least, I will seriously consider your offer. I'll be darned. All these years we've been listening to their incoherent broadcast, and we never even guessed. Captain, listen closely. Long-range sensors show a ship closing on this station fast. Our computer identifies it as Ilrath, Avenger class. I think you've got a fight on your hands, Captain. Your best bet is to wait until you have point-blank range. Captain, it's jamming our signal.
By the fetid breath death of the Dark Twin Kazan, a human and an alien starship. How fascinating. When I intercepted that Ur-Quan drone and learned that an unidentified starship had approached Earth, I never expected to find such a remarkable vehicle in the hands of a human. Humans are prey animals, weak and helpless. But here is a human in an armed starship, and therefore in direct violation of the oath of fealty. I am sure our masters, the Ur-Quan, will punish Earth most severely for this treachery when I present them with the twisted wreckage of your ship and your many charred corpses. Since you will soon be dead, I will gladly explain. We have spent many years gleefully preying on the Pakunk. They are a pitiful, easily killed species. And we would have continued in this divine worship of Dogar and Kazan, but we required additional crew members and repairs to our cloaking device. So we departed the Jiglas constellation and set course for home. But before we had reached our region of space, we detected the passage of a nearby vessel, the Ur-Quan drone. It informed us about you, so here we are. And now, you die!
Atten-
Attention unidentified. Look, we're okay, what do you want? Ur-Quan. When that was
by the sin.
what a beautiful. A sensible plan, Captain. That has a familiar ring to it. Nonetheless, we'll make it so. The United Federation of Worlds. Now, Captain, I expect the configuration process for the starbase to take at least 2 weeks, so let's get to work. I have good news to report, Captain. We have successfully integrated the Precursor technology from your ship into our fabricator system, and as you can see, we've already begun minor repairs on your ship, patching up some of the micrometeorite holes. We noticed that your ship does not have an emergency warp escape unit, so our engineers rigged up some for you and each of your escorts. Now, you should be able to escape from a bad situation with the touch of a button. But there is a cost, however. The unit gulps up 5 fuel units each time your Precursor ship uses it. Also, we now have a limited capacity to make modifications to your ship, to refine Starship fuel, to build additional combat ships, and to train new members of your crew for the flagship and any ships you acquire for your fleet. Captain, I know you're eager to get to work, so I'll be brief. If you have any questions how this starbase works, what resources we need, or just some background information on the galaxy, don't hesitate to ask. Certainly, Captain. What do you need to know? We can modify your Precursor ship, build additional combat vessels, and supply you with fuel and crew. Our engineers and Precursor specialists agree with the scientists from your world that your Starship was designed to be a workhorse vehicle, which can be easily reconfigured for different missions by adding or swapping self-contained equipment packs, which we call modules. The modules we can build right now are thruster units, which make your ship move faster, attitude jets, which allow you to rotate the ship more quickly, crew pods, which provide life support facilities for up to 50 additional crew members, storage bays, which increase your ship's cargo capacity for mineral resources, fuel tanks, which hold an additional 50 units of fuel, dynamos, which feed energy into your combat energy batteries, improving your weapon's rate of fire. And last but not least, ion bolt guns, combat weaponry, the exact function of which depends on its location aboard the ship. When put in the first or front module slot, it fires a single shot forward. When put in the second slot, it fires 2 shots, spread to the left and right of center. When put in the third slot, it fires 2 shots directly, left and right. And when put in the last or rear slot, it fires a single shot straight backwards. This base is designed to serve as hierarchy ships. Fortunately, your flagship uses the same stabilized antimatter technology as hierarchy vessels and will be able to synthesize what you need. However, due to the size of your ship, we'll have to produce vast quantities of fuel, which will be a substantial drain on our resources. Our shipyard facilities are sophisticated and fully automated, permitting a handful of Starbase personnel to do the same job as 500 vac-suited construction workers. However, the only designs that we had in our computers were incomplete hierarchy ship designs. Things looked grim until one of the officers came forward with an amazing story. Even though the Ur-Quan destroyed every Earthling cruiser in the fleet nearly 20 years ago, one of my maintenance engineers was a Starship production assistant at the Detroit shipyard. When Earth was conquered, she was ordered to destroy all ship construction databases. But she secretly made copies of the blueprint discs and then kept them with her ever since. These discs contain all the data we need to build as many Earthling cruisers as you want, provided you, Captain, can supply the large amounts of mineral resources required to build those vessels. In theory, Captain, we could build alien starships here if we had designs for them. However, it's a well-known fact that alien vessels just can't be flown in combat without native starship captains at the helm. We have almost 2,000 highly motivated, skilled professionals aboard this starbase, and every single one of them wants a berth aboard your starship. However, each hand we lose to your ship means less manpower here at the starbase, and this is reflected in the crew RU cost. As long as you don't lose too many crew members to combat or planet exploration, the RU cost will remain static. But we have only so many warm bodies on this starbase, and if your needs for crew grow beyond a certain point, the cost could increase dramatically. As you know, Captain, we've committed the entire output of this station to building your flagship and your battle fleet into the strongest force possible. However, our resources are very limited, and we feel you must decide how we are to spend our effort and materials. To aid you in making these decisions, we have implemented a resource allocation scheme. We provide you with a numerical assessment of the station's resources and ascribe a cost to each task we can perform and each device we can build. It's up to you to decide how you're going to spend your resource units, or RU as we call them. To acquire more RU, you must bring resources back to the starbase. These resources can be either in the form of mineral ores gathered from planet surfaces or already refined metals and other valuable materials from the wreckage of enemy starships. The most straightforward way you can accumulate resource units is to bring mineral ores back to this starbase. There are probably enough resources in just the nearby dozen stars to build your ship into a powerful battleship or to create a strong task force of combat vessels. I would also recommend that you build several additional storage bays. When gathering minerals, focus on cleaning out one star system at a time. This way you minimize the cost of travel through hyperspace. While I respect your search for abstract knowledge, frankly, Captain, in our present circumstances, I see little use for such data here. Perhaps you can make use of biological information elsewhere. What else can I tell you? What aspect of history, Captain? Which group of aliens? Okay, which race? The Shofixti are a race of intelligent marsupials who had been civilized for only a few decades when the war began. They were discovered in the Delta Gorno star system by the Yehot, who adopted and then uplifted the Shofixti giving them advanced technology and cultural definition. Shofixti are noble and fearless warriors, Captain. In addition, their incredible fecundity and rapid maturation rate kept Alliance ranks solid even at the worst part of the war. You know, I once flew as an observer aboard one of their ships on routine patrol. We never saw the enemy, but I could never stop thinking about the glory device it had strapped to the bottom of its hull. The Yehad are a race of ancient warrior clans that have been traveling the stars for many centuries. Clans are highly competitive and sometimes even wage war on each other, but the clans are all loyal to the Queen and her royal family, known as the Veepzeeps. The Veepzeeps have been in power for over 2,000 years, and it is said that during their rule, the Yehad never lost a battle. I'd like to think I'm not a bigoted person, Captain, especially when it comes to allies, but there's just something about those Arilu that gives me the creeps. One thing I'll say for them, though, they possess some technique for moving really fast through hyperspace. They never let us know what it was, but sure beats the pants off our fastest ships. The Chenjesu were leaders of the Alliance, even though they refused to accept formally the title. I don't know if their silicon-based biology is just plain superior to our old carbon models, or if their fantastic intellect were the product of an ancient, peaceful culture. Whatever the reason, I'd rather be taking orders from a Chenjesu than any other life form, absolutely. One of the more amazing things about them was they never used hyperwave communicators. They could send messages naturally, and their natural hyperwave receptors were much more sensitive than even our best units. We didn't really get much of a chance to learn about those mechanical beings, but I'll tell you what I know. They're the product of a distant, unknown culture who sent a giant factory arc into our region of space many centuries ago. The Mother Arc, that's what the Earth Press called it, churned out millions of robots and finally broke down. I don't know why the Myrnaherm didn't repair the Mother Arc. Maybe they can't. My personal guess as to why they were sent here is that they're on the leading edge of a colonization project. And once the Myrnaherm have tamed enough new worlds, the genuine colonists, whoever they are, will arrive and claim their due. Most raw recruits saw the Siren as nothing more than warm, breathing pin-ups. Warm they are, and yes, they do breathe most magnificently, but Captain, they are far more than simple joy units. The history shows the Siren established and maintained a peaceful culture from their Bronze Age through their discovery of starflight. Before their planet was destroyed in a horrible cataclysm, their world was an Eden. What other group of aliens are you interested in? Which species? Our enemy is cunning, relentless, and possesses technology superior to all, but perhaps that found aboard your starship. The Ur-Quan are born, live, and die for one purpose only: the subjugation of all other intelligent life in the galaxy. Why? I don't know. They'd probably have an easier time just destroying intelligence, but they're very careful not to use more force than is necessary to achieve their victim's submission. I'd sure like to know what made those wormy bastards as twisted as they are, and I'd like to know why they keep on the move, never stopping longer than it takes to enslave whomever they find. The Mycons are hard to get a handle on. In fact, I'm not sure any human has ever had a real conversation with a Mycon. What we know of them, we've learned from their corpses, which, I may add, have a nasty habit of coming back to life when thawed out from a decompression quick freeze. Mycon ships seem to expend a significant amount of energy on life support. This is probably because the Mycon only thrive in temperatures close to the melting point of lead. As far as we know, the Mycon are the only race to actively seek out the Ur-Quan in order to become combat slaves. Imagine facing a cowardly, mobile clam armed with a howitzer, and you've got a good idea of what it's like dealing with a Spathi. Although they tend to avoid battles as much as their masters will allow, once in battle, a Spathi eluder is one tough cookie. I once heard a rumor, though I don't like to believe in it myself, that a rogue band of courageous Spathi broke away from the main Starfleet, painted their ships black with bright red stripes, and formed the Black Spathi Squadron, dedicated to performing brave and hostile deeds. Like I said, I'd have to see it to believe it. It's unfortunate that the Umga fell to the Ur-Quan so early in the war, because I suspect we would have gotten along well with those big blob creatures. At the very least, it would have been entertaining. We know them a bit better than most races because they were eager to talk with our ships before, after, and during battle. The Arilu intimated that they had a relationship with the Umga before the Ur-Quan arrived, but I don't know any details. When I was flying combat missions along the Corward front, there was nothing we feared more than the Androsith hit-and-run squadron. Their blazer ships were more than a match for our cruisers, so we stayed clear of Vulpeculae, their home star. In addition, I think each of us aboard the ship knew deep down in our hearts that the Androsith had a damn good reason for hating us. Our grandparents had kept them as slaves for nearly 50 years. I still have nightmares about those spiders taking me prisoner, using me as one of their 6 sacrifices to Dogar and Kazon, their twin gods of destruction and torment. Those guys were almost as scary as the Androsith to those of us in Deep Space Patrol. Their Avenger ships could appear out of nowhere and melt a cruiser down to slag in seconds. Luckily for us, the bulk of the Ilrath fleet was thrown against the Genjesu and the Murnaherm. The Starship Far Voyager under the command of Captain Jeffrey L. Rand encountered the Vux near Beta Mira. Although the details are hazy, it's generally accepted that Rand offended the Vux Starship commander with an inadvertent insult. What other group of aliens are you interested in? None that we had made formal contact with. The Genjesu implied that they had met 2 other star-faring species, one near the Gickless constellation and the other directly Corward from Procyon. The Arilu Lalile once mentioned having some fun with an alien race in Draconis, but like so much else with the Arilu, they never revealed the whole story. I'm sure there are hundreds more alien races in our galaxy, but beyond what I've told you, your guess is as good as mine. Would you like information on any other aspect of history? We have some data on this subject. What do you want to know about? Hell, you probably know more about them than I do, but here goes. About 200,000 years ago, when our great-to-the-nth grandparents were just starting to play with stone knives and bearskins, a star-faring species suddenly appeared on the galactic scene and spread like wildfire. We found evidence of their presence just about everywhere, from an orbital platform on Alpha Centauri to a stack of data plates in a cave on Pluto to some nameless widget found in a voodoo shop in New Orleans. And we never found a precursor body or even a picture of one. We can conjecture what they look like by examining the scale and layout of their equipment. Such an analysis indicates they were giants, say 5 to 8 meters tall and twice as wide. I don't know if they looked more like a brontosaur or an elephant. Anyway, about 3,000 years after the precursors made their dramatic appearance, they vanished. Poof! As far as we can tell, it took less than a decade to happen. You mean besides the precursors? Well, the only information we have is secondhand based on some research by a Genjesu historian that I read at the Academy. Zed-Sert-Sek, the historian, found some evidence that there was a group of alien races who formed an interstellar empire not too far from here about 22,000 years ago. The only species in this empire actually lived in our region of space was a race of rock-like creatures that lived in the Vulpeculae constellation. The presence of the hostile Androsynth in that part of space severely limited Zed-Sert-Sek's research. He never even found out the race's name. Yes, there is. Aside from the precursor relics we have found on Earth, often in museums mislabeled as modern art, we've discovered disturbing evidence of much more recent visitations. Perhaps you're already aware that during the mid to late 20th century, there were unaccountable UFO sightings as well as dozens of reported encounters with alien life forms. Although we can discount many of the reports as wishful fabrication or traumatic translation, the military authorities of the time kept a secret record of the incidents which were legitimate. In each such case, the aliens are almost identical in appearance. They have white skin and minimal facial features except for huge almond-shaped eyes, which are often described as glowing or luminescent. This description fits almost perfectly the Arilu Lalile. In most of the legitimate encounters, the people involved describe being physically examined or modified by the aliens. In some cases, unusual pregnancies occurred, and in almost every instance, there were repeat visitations as though the Arilu Lalile were doing checkups on their subjects. We never got the chance to confront the Ur-Quan about what they did to us and why. I wonder if we ever will. Would you like information on any other aspect of history? What about the war? Earth got involved late in the game in 2112 when the Chenjesu arrived in our solar system for the first time. So let's back up a few years to 2098 when the Chenjesu super-sensitive receivers detected a strange signal from the Ophiuchi constellation. Though even the Chenjesu didn't know it, it was the first sign of the Ur-Quan's arrival. The Ur-Quan, having detected the presence of many sentient species, were beaming out an exulting hunting cry. The first direct evidence of the Ur-Quan's intent was the sudden conquest of the Umga, a solitary though not unfriendly species in the Orionis constellation. The Chenjesu, distraught by the invasion, were further angered when the Ur-Quan turned their fleets on the hostile but weak Ilrath race. A hastily assembled defense force of Murner-Herm and Chenjesu vessels turned the Ur-Quan fleet aside, but the invader moved into Spathi space, rapidly subjugating that race. With each new conquest, the Ur-Quan fleet grew larger as it added slave vessels to its ranks. Earth joined the Chenjesu to form the Alliance of Free Stars at about the same time as the Androsynth stars fell to the Ur-Quan armada. Before the ink was dry on our agreement with the Chenjesu in 2116, a new race appeared in orbit around the moon and asked for admittance to the Alliance. It was the Ur-Quan. The timing seemed unusual, and the Ur-Quan were definitely weird, looking like saucer men from Mars, but we were too busy cranking up our mothballed heavy industry that we really didn't pay it much attention at the time. At the start of the war, here on Earth, we were working like crazy, churning out hundreds of heavy cruisers and smaller support vehicles. The Ur-Quan were busy too. Unbeknownst to us, they had moved down towards the Luton Star Group and were attacking the Vux, who only the Yehat knew existed. Our botched first contact with the Vux took place in 2119, and it was the biggest single mistake we made during the war. After defeating the Vux, the Ur-Quan fleets ran smack into the combined might of the Yehat and Shofixti, supported by the first wave of our cruisers. Again, the Ur-Quan turned away from the hard spot to attack the weak, though we just thought they were running away. In fact, the Ur-Quan had found another independent alien race, the Mycon, in the Brahi constellation. The Mycon's voluntary submission to the Ur-Quan brought the return of the Ur-Quan fleets, now swollen with 100 devastating Mycon pod ships. The last entrants to the conflict were the Cyrene, a race of space gypsies who had escaped the hierarchy by moving their vast fleet of slow-moving habitats into human space. With the side set, the last Ur-Quan offensive began. The Ur-Quan came roaring through Vux space and tried to push past the India and Mira star systems. Their onslaught was barely repulsed, and our counterattack made hardly a dent on the hierarchy forces, but we held the line. The Corward front remained intact. Over the following 10 years, there were many great battles between the combined Alliance Starfleet and the Ur-Quan and their hierarchy of battle thralls. Then in 2134, a dramatic shift in the balance of power took place. This must have been about the time the science research mission was sent to the planet of Vela. Our fleets were pushed back from the Indy-Mira line beyond Raynet. Holding Rigel caused grievously in Chenjesu forces, and the Ur-Quan, recognizing this weakness, shifted to focus the brunt of their forces on Procyon. That was the last we heard from the Chenjesu and the Murner-Herm. A few weeks later, waves of ships hit us from all directions. When Ceres Station, our outpost on the asteroid belt, fell to the hierarchy, we knew we were beaten, but we fought on anyway. 3 days later, the Ur-Quan vaporized our last remaining laser forts on the moon, and the dreadnoughts took up geosynchronous position above Rome, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo, London, Buenos Aires, and Washington. We'd lost the war, and we knew it. But the Ur-Quan decided to make it real clear. And that's why if you check any of our most recent maps, you won't find Buenos Aires. After the UN submitted their formal surrender, we were given a week to decide the nature of our servitude. The Ur-Quan demanded that the decision be made through popular vote. When all the votes were tallied, Earth had chosen not to fight for the Ur-Quan. We had become a fallow slave world. We were given a month to withdraw all of our people and equipment to Earth. Anyone or anything left off-planet would be destroyed after the shield went up. Then the Ur-Quan broadcast an odd message. All objects of human construction more than 500 years old were to be abandoned. We didn't know what the Ur-Quan meant until they moved their dreadnoughts into new orbital positions and opened fire on the surface with their fusion weapons. In seconds, large sections of London, Paris, and other European cities were incinerated. At first, we thought they were going to annihilate us after all. And we noticed they were also striking such targets as the Giza Pyramids, the Parthenon in Athens, and Stonehenge. Curiously, the United States was almost untouched. The flaming rain lasted 40 hellish hours. It took days after we crawled from our smoldering shelters to realize what the Ur-Quan had done. Our new masters had targeted every building, monument, or other man-made construction older than 500 years and destroyed it. In those 2 days, we lost most of the history of mankind. In some cases, the Ur-Quan destroyed places we did not even suspect were significant. From their positions in orbit, the dreadnoughts blew away a kilometer of land in central Iraq, vaporized several targets in the Amazon rainforest, punched a big hole through the Antarctic ice cap to destroy something deep under the surface, and melted a broad swath of the ocean floor in the southeastern Atlantic. Then, just a couple of days later, the shield went up, and our contact with the outside world stopped. The next time I saw the stars was 8 years ago, when I was transferred up here to be the new commander of this starbase. Would you like any information on any other aspect of history? Sure. Anything else? Can you be more specific? If you have the patience, I would recommend you spend several months or even a year gathering mineral resources. You can find such minerals on almost any planet's surface, but the quality and density will vary depending upon the type of planet you're on. Base metals are probably the most common materials you'll find, but they aren't particularly valuable. You can find rarer precious and radioactive elements on metal-rich worlds such as Mercury. An old miner once told me that you could tell the relative quality of a planet's minerals based on the planet's color as seen from space. To remember the color sequence from good to bad, the miner had a mnemonic that went something like, "Very young orangutan could grow bananas perhaps rather well." It is also the case that mineral yields will be better at hotter stars. Temperature is related to the size and color of a star. Red stars are the coolest, then orange, yellow, green, blue, and the hottest stars are white. That all depends on whom you meet, doesn't it, Captain? Well, in all seriousness, if you encounter the Illrath, Bucks, Androsynth, or other hierarchy battle thralls, I wouldn't hold out much hope for a peaceful encounter. So if you feel you have the advantage, attack. The resources you will scavenge from the enemy's wreckage are well worth the effort. If you can find alliance races who are in a position to help us, then you must convince them to join with us. Their assistance may be crucial to our success. Let's see. You need to build up and balance the strength of your flagship. I would add thrusters up to, say, 5 or 6. Speed is essential in combat, but it would also pay off over the long haul in hyperspace. And if you prefer to avoid confrontation, nothing beats a great pair of legs. I would add turning jets for increased maneuverability. I would add enough weapons to defend yourself if you're caught without escort ships. You need more crew, at least 50 to make productive voyages into space. You need additional fuel, at least 50 units. Your weapons will be underpowered in combat if you don't have at least 1 dynamo. I guess I'd gather more minerals to build up a good supply of resource units. Captain, I wish I had an easy answer, but I don't. The only way I can see of liberating Earth as well as the Alliance allies is to destroy the Ur-Quan and their armada of battle thralls entirely. To defeat our enemies, we will need awesome strength, both in your flagship and the fleet, as well as the assistance of powerful new allies. Though combat will be unavoidable and sometimes necessary to achieve our goals, I'm certain your wits will be at least as important as your weapons. You'll need to explore this region of space, gathering resources and information wherever you go. I don't know, Captain, but I suspect their battle thralls know more than we do, so I suggest you try to gather information from them, perhaps by force. At first, your ship will be far too vulnerable to permit frontal assaults on the Ur-Quan. Even when your ship is at full power, we're faced with the reality that the hierarchy has thousands of ships. You cannot win the fight alone, Captain. You need allies. Also, towards the end of the war, when the hierarchy broke through the Corward front, we heard rumors that the Ur-Quan had unleashed some kind of super weapon which was unstoppable by normal means. You need to find out if that rumor was true, Captain, because if the Ur-Quan do have such a weapon, we'll have to find some way to stop it, or all our efforts are for naught. If you encounter an unknown alien race, proceed carefully and diplomatically. We need all the friends we can get, and we certainly can't afford any more enemies. Remember, Captain, with your Precursor Starship, you hold awesome power. But there will be situations when dealing with an alien race where a carrot will serve better than a stick. But first, you must determine what carrot the alien wants. You need to accumulate enough resources so we can build up your flagship and assemble a strong fleet. I'd also recommend that you acquire blueprints for other more powerful ships than our trusty cruiser. I suspect that aliens will not give you such prints unless you form an alliance with them. What else can we discuss? What else can I tell you? Fine. Is there anything else you need? The more minerals you bring us, Captain, the faster we'll be able to tackle the Ur-Quan. We shall await your return, Captain.
Attention, a big, mean, hostile alien vessel hovering overhead in an obvious attack posture. This is Spotty Captain Whistle. I know you are going to torture me, so let's just get this over with right now. The coordinates of my homeworld, Spottywa, are 241.6 by 368.7, and the ultra-secret Spotty Cipher, which is known only by me and several billion other Spotty, is Huffy Muffy Duffy. Sorry about that little mistake with your landing vehicle. I was so startled when it approached my vessel in a threatening manner that my automated defense systems fired on it when it got too close. I hope nobody got hurt. Are you sure? Because your statement is often just a more polite way of saying, "Attention alien vessel, identify yourself or be destroyed." In any event, I am Spotty Captain Whistle of the Void ship Star Runner, placed here in this planetary system as part of the powerful Earth-powered Star Force, which our masters, the Ur-Quan, established here to make sure the Earthlings don't do anything tricky. About 20 years ago, this region of space was dominated by a loose confederation known as the Alliance of Free Stars, which was composed of the aliens native to these parts who did not want to be enslaved. They made a valiant effort against the superior Ur-Quan forces. It even looked like they might miraculously defeat the combined Ur-Quan armada, right up to the point at which the Ur-Quan totally defeated, indeed annihilated them. When the Ur-Quan armada entered the system to subjugate formerly the Earthlings, the Ur-Quan presented the humans with the standard slave options. Join the hierarchy as combat roles and retain some autonomy, including the right to travel through space, or become a fellow species and return to pre-atomic savagery on the surface of their homeworld, encased for all time beneath an impenetrable force shield. The humans chose the latter option, and so were swiftly imprisoned on the surface of Earth. But the Ur-Quan didn't trust them to obey the restrictions, so they chose a small group of hierarchy combat starships from the Inlet and Spartan fleets to create the so-called Earth Guard and station them at a base on Earth's moon. Our masters don't really keep us very well informed about their goings-on, so that all we know is that immediately after the subjugation of the last Alliance race, the Hut, I think, the Ur-Quan gathered their dreadnoughts and departed toward the edge of the galaxy, commanding us to obey the slave laws or face their wrath when they returned. Well, I really want to, but I am just not sure that under the present circumstances, joining you in your exciting and also dangerous space adventures would be the best course of action right now, because the Ur-Quan could return at any minute, and the punishment they would bestow on me for such treason would make any other horrible death seem like big fun by comparison. Thanks for the offer, though. Originally, we were stationed on Earth's moon, which made us Spotty a bit uneasy, because with each passing day we grew more and more worried about the sneaky Earthlings making a surprise attack. but the Ur-Rat kept telling us that it was impossible since the Earthlings had no ships or weapons whatsoever. That made us feel a bit better, but when the Ur-Rat left, again we grew fearful and decided to make a strategic redeployment to Mars. Later on we decided it would be prudent to relocate to Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, then later Saturn's moon, Titan, and finally here to Pluto. The Ur-Rat contingent were supposed to be the toughest ridge crest, the most rigid flipper, yes, the backbone of the Earth Guard force. But they departed the system en masse not long after the last Ur-Quan dreadnought vanished from this region of space. They claimed to have received a direct order from their gods of evil and darkness, who had grown dissatisfied with the Ur-Rat's passivity and wanted them to kill or at least torture someone soon. Personally, I believe they just got bored and went off to have some fun. Well, when they were pushing up into hyperspace 18 years ago, we asked them that very question, and I think they said something to the effect of,
Real soon.
we decided that if the Earthlings figured out we had abandoned the base on Luna, they would be more likely to try something sneaky. So, we rigged up some old service androids and ordered them to drive around on the lunar surface in bulldozers, endlessly pushing around the same piles of dirt. In addition, we connected the base's local radio transmitter to an audio malnorme fun rum called Winky's Happy Night, hoping they would think we were still there. Over the past years, it became necessary to redeploy strategically some of our Earth Guard forces to our homeworld in case of a sudden surprise attack by a vicious, unrelenting alien race which we spotty call the Ultimate Evil. As yet, the Ultimate Evil remains largely unmanifest, and its powers and exact intentions are still a bit obscure, since it lurks just outside the range of even the most sensitive long-range detectors, which we feel gives conclusive evidence as to the Ultimate Evil's nefarious intent. Dozens, that is to say scores and perhaps even hundreds of my brethren stride through the corridors of this specially modified, super-efficient, mass destruction-oriented Starship, which could lay siege to an entire planetary system should we choose to do so, which, fortunately for you, we have decided not to do today. I am undone. You are far too clever for a poor spotter like me, and now I must submit to your superior alien intellect. I guess I am not revealing any truly important secrets if I tell you that each of my species' lunar-class void ships typically holds 30 spotter crewmen, though at present my vessel, the Star Runner, is not up to full complement due to the needs of my homeworld in their resistance against the Ultimate Evil. And in fact, my vessel is somewhat understaffed right now, seeing as how I am the only spotter on board, which is a bit frightening, as I am sure you can understand. Since it was our most powerful and unforgiving masters, the Ur-Quan, who stationed us here, we knew it would be grossly stupid to disobey them completely, but we decided it would be okay to send just one ship home. We used one of our most ancient and solemn rituals, Poon Taffy, to pick the lucky ship. Then, some months later, we decided that it wouldn't really hurt if we sent one more ship home. And then later we sent another, and then another. Well, you get the idea. Alas, as fate would have it, when the final ritual was performed, I, Precursor, was left here alone. For as even the most immature in wrestling knows, there must always be one spotter who puts the short top on stick. We only know bits and pieces of what happened to each race. For instance, when defeated, the Yahat joined the hierarchy as combat thralls, while the Siren chose to be slave-shielded on a planet in the Bug Squirt star system. No, not not right. I forget its name. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, the Sophisti. They were utterly wiped out in a gigantic blaze of glory. The Sophisti were half of the world, as you know, having been uplifted by the Yahat just a few decades before the start of the war. Given their habit of detonating those suicidal so-called glory devices in combat, it came as no particular surprise to me when, upon the arrival of the Ur-Quan primary task force at their homeworld, the Sophisti caused their sun to explode in a colossal supernova, destroying the entire planetary system, and not incidentally dozens of Ur-Quan dreadnoughts. Me, personally? How nice of you to ask! I was born a poor green incrusting, the youngest child of a family of 18,487. My male parents had to work hard to support us, very hard, but each of my brothers and sisters and I tried to help out to make ends meet. The female parent was kind and sweet to all of us. Why, she once even called me by name! She said, What a treat, a golden memory. I swiftly matured into a fine example of my species with my parents' assistance. Achieved independence. Specifically, they pried me from the door jam and rolled me into the street. Thus prepared, I set out to make my fortune. I had great dreams in those days. Yes, great dreams. I knew that someday I would be vastly rich, wealthy enough to afford a large, well-fortified mansion. Surrounding my mansion would be vast tracts of land through which I could slide at any time I wished. Of course, one can never be too sure that there aren't monsters hiding just behind the next bush. So I would plant trees to climb at regular, easy-to-reach intervals. And being a spotty of the world, I would know that some monsters climb trees, though often not well, so I would have my servants place in each tree a basket of perfect stones. Not too heavy, not too light, just the right size for throwing at monsters. I was thinking about what color the stones would be painted, aqua, mauve, or magenta, when a vegetable cart came careening down the street outside my house, and knocked me unconscious. When I awoke, I was aboard the void ship Star Runner, headed for Earth. Apparently, I had been out of my head for quite some time after the accident, and with the assistance of some kind strangers, had been relieved of my funds and convinced to join the Navy, where I have been unpleasantly employed for the last 25 years. How true, Captain, how true! In truth, just between us, during the past 7 years, I have been quite ill at ease, and yet now I find myself enjoying your company. This witty dialogue, and the presence of your huge, powerful, death-dealing starship, which, being my friend, you would certainly feel compelled to use in order to save me from any hostile life forms who threatened me with death. Happy days and jubilation! I discard all prejudice and hesitations and accept and celebrate your offer of protection and your undying commitment to my well-being. I must wax melancholy for just a moment though, and make sure you understand that any other spotty ships we meet at large in the galaxy are not going to be quite so responsive to your friendly gestures as myself, since they bear more heavily the yoke of Ur-Quan enslavement and are also apt to talk themselves out of allying with a totally unknown alien, which I, having been left here alone, cannot do. Welcome me aboard, Captain.
Captain, I'm glad you made it back in one piece. Not a bad job, Captain. Certainly, Captain. What do you need to know? Fine. Is there anything else you need? Try to avoid getting gruesomely killed, Captain.